Hello, so here we are again with another sketchbook diary. I really enjoyed doing the last one and have enjoyed looking back on it, so I thought I'd get straight cracking on with the next one. As you can probably already tell, today I'm sketching Count Olaf from the promo poster for Netflix's A Series of Unfortunate Events. Thought it'd be really fun to draw. I've really enjoyed watching the series. It's so up my street. It's just beautiful, the styling is amazing, and I thought while I was inspired by it, it'd be good to do just something straight away. This picture is particularly striking, so I thought it was a great one to do. As you can see, I'm using the mechanical pencil just to kind of sketch out the basic proportions to start with. Initially, I just drew the oval and the circles and just the basic shapes so that I knew that my design wasn't going to go too far off the page and I wasn't going to be able to fit it in. Then I'm going in with general kind of face proportions. I'm putting in my markers kind of where you would roughly do them on a face, which I can do a video on that if you want to. There's plenty around, but if you want me to kind of go a bit more in detail with that, I can. So yeah, I'm kind of doing the markers like you would on a normal face, and then really using my observational skills to kind of use that as a guideline, but then go from the picture to map it out so it looks like Count Olaf's proportions. So of course he's very exaggerated, he's not got normal proportions, so therefore I put the nose marker in, for example, but his nose is very elongated and goes further. But once you've got that guideline in place, it's quite easy to adjust them slightly depending on what you're drawing. Also the kind of shape of his face, so I started with that rough oval, but he has very kind of a prominent temple and his jawbone sinks in and it's like very peculiar. So as you're going along, you can just work off that guideline and adjust it and get it to look more like the subject. So as you can see here, I'm going in with the shading now. I'm using a 4B pencil. If you watch the last video, you'll realise that I did make an error. I said I was using a 2B, but I wasn't, it was a 4B. But yeah, so I'm kind of going in. This will be the only pencil that I really use for my shading because I can get pretty much all the tones that I want from it. I'm going in with some of the darkest shaded areas first, so particularly from his eye to his nose is a really prominent shadowed area, and it gives me a really good basis to work everything else off. Also, I am using a blending tool in this one. I know I was naughty in using my fingers on the last one, but with this being a more detailed piece, I thought I would be a bit more precise. All I'm using though is a cotton bud. It does the job just fine, be it kind of softening the edges or be it just using it over the top of one of those really dark shaded areas. Just kind of helps get rid of the pencil lines a little more and just really softens it up. So it's great for little tips like that. I'm not using it obsessively, so it's still using it in that way where you're not just drawing a line and smudging off it to create your shadows. You are kind of drawing in the shadows and you're using it to soften predominantly, which helps get you that more kind of realistic look rather than a pencil sketch look. Again, I'm no expert. This is a very sketchy picture, so I'm not saying it looks 100% realistic, but it just kind of gives it a nicer look and a nicer edge. As you can also see on the kind of nose and the cheek area, I've very lightly gone in with a few kind of little flecks, if you'll call them. He seems to have a lot of marks on his face. It's quite weathered, so I thought I needed to add that texture in. So rather than trying to be really meticulous over it, if it was a really amazing drawing that I was working on, I could spend a lot more time, but it's just a sketch and I don't want to spend too long on it, so I've just kind of done some really whimsical little flecks and they seem to work quite well. You've probably also seen that as I've started shading, I've adjusted the proportions even more. You've got to always be looking at the proportions and always looking back for your reference if you want to get something that resembles someone and is kind of realistic. I don't claim to be a great realistic artist. I have a lot of work to do. My proportions always seem to be slightly out, which is why I'm doing things like practicing this now. Practice makes perfect, but if you can just try and all along be looking at your observational picture and just really looking at it in fine detail and adjusting as you go, you will get better. I still find my drawings have odd proportions that are off. It doesn't faze me too much because I'm not trying to be a 100% perfect realistic artist. I managed to get them to a stage that I'm happy with. If you're wanting to be a really realistic artist, of course you want to really fine tune that. And as you can see, I've moved on to the spyglass now. I must admit I didn't do the best job on this. My main focus, I did want to work on the face, and this was a bit of a kind of burden in a way. I didn't want to waste the time doing it, so I really quickly, roughly did it. I didn't want to put the children in the glass for that reason, the reflection of them, so I just kind of shaded and used my rubber to get a bit of light reflection on it. By the time I'd finished, I felt like it needed something, so I did a really rough sketch of their image in there, but I think because I did this shading behind it, I didn't need to go into too much detail. And like I said, it's only a sketch for my sketchbook, so it had the desired effect, but I didn't have to spend too much time on it. I think I'll stop talking now and doing the voiceover because I've kind of run out of things to talk about. If you do have any questions, just leave them in the comments or send me a message and I will try my best to answer them. But I hope you've enjoyed watching this sketch. I really enjoyed doing it. It's kind of worked out better than I expected because it's been a while since I drew any realistic portraits or anything. So I'm really glad with how it turned out. I felt like I learned a lot as I went along doing it, and yeah, I'm kind of, if you've got any suggestions of what you might want me to draw next, let me know. Otherwise I'm gonna probably try and upload another one of these very soon. So if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it or learned something from this, and I hope you like the finished product. It's not perfect, but I'm quite happy with it for a sketch and for the fact I haven't drawn anything like this in ages. So practice makes perfect, and here's to the next one. Thank you.